And we're
Hey
live.
everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi everybody. It's Roger, Brittany, and Rosie Hayer, and we're here with the RBR show. And today we have quite a few interesting things that we have to talk about. So we're here live with you. So Rosie, why don't we kick off the show? Tell us what today's show is about.
I think that everyone
I
should
want
go.
to kick something off, but not the show.
okay.
Let me show you what I want to kick off, just so that you know. Hi, Bree. How are you? Happy Tuesday. It's 2 o'clock. We're live again from Rivet Real Estate.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good one.
How's that?
So Rosie Bree, we were talking briefly, and there's some things that we wanted to talk about today. And so what are your ideas on how we want to highlight some of the things that make home buyers and investors successful in this market?
Yeah, so I feel like one of the things that we all do behind the scenes that we don't get to openly talk about is what our day-to-day responsibility and operations look like when somebody is looking to buy a home. Oftentimes, people think that okay, buying a home or a property is about, um, you know, putting in application for the loan approval, looking at homes, all that stuff, right? And I think there's one part of the whole thing that really makes everything happen in the front end is the intuitive knowledge of the buyer specialist working in the back end with you. And Bree, right now, the reason her black background is all choppy and she looks like she is in Galaxy somewhere is because she's hiding the car that she's driving to visit her client, right? So I just talked to Bree today before the call. I said, Bree, what it would be like if we just had a conversation about what your day looked like. Like right now, she's about to meet a buyer at a property. She's going to show them the property, and she's actively working and calling other agents and brokers, getting information on the properties. So, Bree, walk us through like when somebody is pre-approved and they are ready to start their journey to look at properties. Today is one of their days that they're going to be looking at properties, right? Walk us through what your day started like, and how did you arrive at this today?
Yeah, so basically, I had a client who wanted to see a few homes. They sent me a list of the properties. Now, I kind of already know what this client wants because we've been on a few appointments already. So, what we do before we even schedule any appointments is we pull the data for it. So, we look at the seller's disclosure, we look at the private notes because two of these properties were sold as is with foundation issues.
Wow.
This buyer did not want to get into that, so those were automatically off of the list. Now, then after the seller's disclosure, we have to map out the perfect route to take so that we're not going like this, right, when we're looking at homes. So after mapping out the route, um, the client wanted to add another property. So we have to reroute what we're going to do. And then whenever we're scheduling the home, sometimes they're vacant and it's an easy go. But 9 times out of 10, we have to schedule an appointment. So when we schedule the appointment, we're working with either homeowner or tenants that are living in the home. So we have to be cognizant of what are their schedules like. Do they have a 2 hour? Sometimes they have a 2 hour time window. Sometimes they have a 24-hour time window block. So we have to look at that and see, okay, where can we fit these showings in that is convenient for us, but also that will work for the, said seller or tenant at the same time.
Yeah, so the reason I thank you for that. The reason I wanted to bring up is because I think there's this part of the business that really doesn't get enough highlight, right? So a buyer is ready to buy a property. They're pre-approved. They're excited. You set them on the search. They hearted the properties they want, and now okay, these are the properties I'm going to show the buyer to get started with their home search, right? And today is that one of the days. So let's suppose they have 9 properties to look at, and if for those 9 properties for the listeners out there, what Bree is trying to say is that those properties have homeowners living in it. Some work from home, some don't. So property could be appointment only. Now, if they are in the middle of the non-negotiable meeting hours, they might not be able to just leave the property and go somewhere else, right? They're going to have to ask for a different time or propose a different time. So if you have 9 homes to look at, number one thing, you only have 4 to 5 hours to hunt for homes out of your work week, right? So Bree's job is to make sure that you're most effectively spending that time avoiding the rush hours so that we're not going in the circles from north to south, south to east, east to west. Let's finish up all the properties in the north, then we go to northeast, right? Then south, southwest, and all that good stuff. Now, what Bree is also mentioning is that, Bree, sounds like what you just said is that if we just found another property and said, you know what, might as well add this in there. And if the property is kind of out of the route, you are making sure, first of all, they're available today. Number two, you are looking at their private remarks so they don't have any pre existing condition which can stop the lending on the property and the buyer is stuck with a big repair on hand. And third, you're making sure that you're fitting that property in a time slot that can fit in with the rest of the route so you're not going out of the route,
Right.
right? So this requires a lot of preparation.
Yeah. Yeah, what people don't realize is that when we're scheduling homes, even sometimes if they're vacant, you still have to schedule it online. You have to go through an app that we utilize and still hit the schedule mark because there might be someone else that's trying to show it at the same time.
Yeah.
So sometimes it takes anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes longer, depending on how many homes there are and if agents don't respond or the owners don't respond in a timely manner. So it does take quite a bit of time on the back end.
Yeah. So what we are doing right now is what we are hearing right now, Bree says that she's spending time so that your 4 to 5 hours of time that you're spending are the most effective hours. So basically, we're spending time so our clients can gain time.
Yeah.
You
Wow.
know, I heard foundation repairs and foundation problems, and as an investor, and so many of our friends being investors, I know some of their ears just perked up. The cool thing is you're getting, I guess, exposure to all the properties out there that may be stigmatized like this in some sort of way. Like there's some problems there, and sometimes problems equal profit. So it just depends what your outlook is. But I just had to mention that you mentioning foundation repairs definitely had my attention.
Yeah, so this buyer is not up for taking that kind of work. She has a very busy schedule. She's not going to want to buy a property and create a job for her, right?
Of course, not
Yes.
everyone has the same need. Yeah.
This is a different one.
Well, but if any other investors are looking for it,
Yeah.
call me. I know the property addresses.
Yes, and they're negotiable, right? Nothing is for list
Yeah.
price. That's the biggest misnomer. So, Bree, so now let's suppose somebody has that perfect time with you now, right? You're going into a property. What are you guys looking for? Well, walk us through what that experience looks like.
So the first thing, we obviously cover the basics, right? We're looking at the home. They're looking at how does it make them feel? Does the size fit their needs? But on the back end, some things that I'm looking for is I'm looking at the walls. Are there any cracks? Are these indicative of maybe an issue or are they just a tape and float thing, right? That maybe needs some paint. We're looking at things that maybe they don't necessarily see, right? I'm looking under the cabinetry for them. Sometimes I go in and flush a toilet or two. Does the toilet continue to run, right? And it depends on the client. These clients who don't have a lot of time or they want something that's really move-in ready and they're not going to have any headaches, those things we really try to check on the front end, right? Maybe an investor who kind of wants something that needs a little bit of work, we go in with an open mind knowing that some of those things might be there because we can negotiate further.
Exactly. So Bree just made a very good point, and I think it's a great segment that we can have a conversation around because people listening to this need to understand what goes into the home search and what goes on the showing days, right? What are the things we're looking for? So Bree, you just mentioned that you're looking at things visibly because when you find errors in the visible viewing of the property, visible showing, right? You're able to structure those repairs upfront in a price.
Right.
right? Because if we don't do a proper visible showing and we're not flushing the toilets, checking under the cabinetry, looking at the roof, looking at the issues, looking behind the doors and closets for any water stains, looking at for any cracks, then we don't get to include that into our offer price to reflect those repairs up front, and everything becomes heavy during the inspection period
Right.
because now inspector is addressing things that you already saw,
Right.
and now we have to address visible showing repairs and the ones that occur during the inspection all at once, which makes the negotiation very difficult,
Difficult. Yeah.
right? So how walk me through, like, let's suppose you found a property and then you saw some stain in the ceiling and some stain under the cabinetry. What does your conversation with the agent looks like if you're actually, you know what, let's slow it down. So you saw the property, everything has good stuff, but there are some visible issues. How does the conversation with the buyer look like?
So the first thing that we do anytime we look at a home, we always rate the property 1 to 10. 10 being they love it, you want to put in an offer. Anything under a 7, we become men in black and we remove it from our memory. Okay. So, guys, I always say I want to get one of those little, I don't know if you've seen Men in Black, but Rosie's looking at me like, why are you saying Men in Black? I don't know what you're talking about. But from the movie Men in Black, they have these, it was about aliens, bro. And they, if you have it, you press this button and then it like erases your memory. So, so
Hold on, I want to know the clients you're saying it to. Do they know what a show Men in Black
yes,
is?
Oh, sure.
yes,
Yeah. Legendary.
Damn.
yeah. It was, it was a very popular show in what, late 90s, early 2000s,
Yeah.
something like that. Most people know what I'm talking about, but that's okay. So we rate the property and we try to keep a list of our top 3 at any given time. Because when we're seeing 9, 10, 15, 20 homes, after the 3rd or 4th one, people are like, I don't remember what the first one looked like. Why are you looking at me like that, bro?
I'm excited because I have a question coming.
Okay, anyways, so we always ask the rating so that way we can kind of keep it fresh of mind, keep it top of mind on what we're liking, what we're not liking. And then if it's anything under a 7, we kind of ask, what made it this, right? Or if it's like a 7 or an 8, what would make it a 10 for them? This is really helpful on our end to understand what they're liking and not liking about a property, because what someone likes in a property, right, might not be what someone else would like. So it's good to understand where they're coming from and what's most important to them. So that way, maybe we're hunting outside of our showings for them and we can say, oh, you would love this property because XYZ.
So let's suppose you have someone like Roger as a buyer, right? Who has like a BRF face right now. And
An RBF.
yeah, RBF face. RBF face right now. And they rate every property at 9 because they think everything is God's creation. You can't give it a 2.
I want to be positive.
And indecisive.
I'm
So let me draw that scenario, please. So he's like walking into each property and he's like, oh, it's a 9, it's a 9, it's a 9, and you're property number 6, and they reported everything 9. Men in the Black clicker didn't work.
Okay.
What do you do?
I've been doing this for a very long time, over a decade, and I've never had someone rate every property a 9.
Well, I hope you don't get them, but if somebody does, like Roger,
the only reason why I rate them a 9 is because I know Rosie will rate them lower, so I just kind of leave it up to her.
Well, what we do then is we want to say, okay, we're at property number 6. What would be our top 3? Because we got to keep a tab of our top 3. And then we can rate 4 through 6 as well, but let's rate it. All of them are 9s. What's number 1 for you? And what makes one number 1?
Yeah.
And what makes this one a 9? What would make it a 10?
Yeah. So basically, if somebody were to write a check, and we have to get into that moment that today you're signing the papers and you're going to get the keys to the home, which home would you like to unlock with that key? Right. Yeah. So they have to get that real in their reality. And I think the conversation you're having, you're basically helping them remove the cognitive overload of remembering everything and say, okay, let's just look at it. If the money is being paid, like money is leaving your account, You're
Mhm.
about to receive the keys to unlock the doors. Which property would that be? So, Roger, if somebody would ask a question like that to you, do you see yourself picking one property or two property out of those?
Actually, you know what really aroused my curiosity the most was homes that may not be available to see because of coordinating. And that's kind of what my attention was peaked at. Do you find that a lot of the properties that people sometimes want to see just aren't available or can't be scheduled?
It
Like, how
depends.
does it happen? It seems like it might happen more often than not, right?
It does happen. I don't know. We really try to get them in, so
Yeah.
sometimes I have to make multiple
So
calls
let
to
me
the.
translate it for you, what Bree
Yeah.
is saying. She said, I don't take no for an answer. My client
So
wants to see
that's
it.
what I
You
hear.
better
Yeah.
show it to me.
Right. Right. Right.
Otherwise, get off the market.
And I was
I mean,
just
there
thinking.
have
I was
been
just
a few, but
yeah.
for the most
I was
part,
thinking like how big of a disservice that could be to a buyer not making your property available for showing.
Well, I do want to say one thing. I have sellers who don't understand sometimes doesn't matter, maybe I need to do a harder job in ingraining that in their memory. I say,
Mm,
look, first 2 weeks are the very important weeks in the market. You don't want to just casually say, today I can't show. Can you see tomorrow? And I send them, they're like, well, I can't show today. They declined it. I was like, hold on, you declined the showing? Like, you know how many phone calls and marketing it took to land that showing for someone to come in the person? Like, you're declining it, right? And they would tell me, well, it doesn't work for me. Then I send them a screenshot. I say they're reaching out, they're emphasizing again because they really like the house. What do you want me to tell them?
very cool.
Why are we not able to show it? They said,
Yeah.
well, because we don't have anybody to take the dogs out of the house. So sometimes becoming curious, but sometimes the end buyer is like, hey, look, I have no problem. I'll make sure that we lock the door in. We can work around the dogs. They're friendly dogs, or they don't want their cat to be let out. So I think it's very important we respect the character or a trait in a professional that doesn't take no for a surface no for an answer. Now
yeah,
there's a huge demeanor shift here, saying I don't take no for an answer, or I say, well, we're not going to take surface no for an answer.
That's a slight distinction. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't take no for an answer is combative, which means like you don't want to give it to me, and I'm going to make sure I get it from you. What kind of shit is that? But I think a collaborative, I don't take a
It's like
surface.
where you're advocating for somebody. That's what it sounds like because you realize that the buyer that's coming is carrying a bag of money. And by not making the property available to show, you're refusing that bag of money. Like it's hard for people to perceptualize
Yeah.
if
They
they're not.
have a bag of money that you want to get, and you're saying, tell them to walk away from your property. You don't have time to look at the money.
Or it's like going to a hotel and they're like, we just don't want to rent it right now. Come back later. What are the odds you're going to do that? You're probably going to go
Well,
somewhere.
I would like to take a level deep on this one, right? That's a seller conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, saying, hey, I have something for you. You don't want it? That's like still dangling a carrot, right? Because we're not sure if the bag of money is going to land in their hand or not, right?
True.
I think sometimes the most important thing is to understand what is the reason they said no.
yeah.
Mm.
I
And
actually
can
had
you,
that today. They were like, I had one where we were trying to get it at a certain time. They said, "Hey, sellers can't do till 6 o'clock." I said, "Oh, we're already seeing all of these homes today. 6 o'clock, they're already going to be done by 5." I said,
Yeah.
"If there's any way possible we can do it earlier, that would be great. If not, let me see if we can make something work." And I said, "Is it that they're working?" And they said, "Well, they just have they had an HEB like a delivery coming at that time." I said, "Look, we don't care about the HEB delivery. I'll even bring the groceries in if you want me to." I said, "Or
Wow.
maybe we can come 15 minutes early. My clients are pretty quick. These people only stay in their home 10, 15 minutes." I said, "We can come a little bit early, or we can even come slightly later, like 15 minutes later." And the agent said, actually, they got it to move back by 30 minutes and they let us in.
wow. You see this? You know what? This is a perfect contrast of what is the good reason a seller would say no to a showing, and if a buyer agent did not persist, a listing agent wouldn't. Wow, you see the chain reaction?
Yeah.
We need sometimes assertiveness in our role to really assert what needs to be done, and everything will align. You gave them a reason, strong enough and you showed conviction around it, this could be the very house that she writes an offer on.
But you know what? What really amazes me about this story is that this is just one area where we're highlighting how many more areas are there that could be potential sticky points, and you have someone who's removing those hurdles for you. That's what I think is really beautiful about the work you do, Bree.
Or she's saying, I'm not getting my client in the car and drive another hour just to show one house. We're getting it done today.
in in a kind way. But yes,
Whatever the
That's
inspiration
the
is, right?
efficiency thing, right? Like if you're out and about grocery shopping, might as well buy two extra things. Why you have to do it again? Because that's a time suck for a client that you should be negotiating, or you should be researching the market for your people. You should be spending time brainstorming on which one is the right one. Being in the car just showing a property is not the only value you bring. That's just part of the job. That's just what has to be done so you can now get to do for them what you were really skilled to do, right? Wow. So wow, honey, do you see how much goes into all of this?
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, story for next week, what gets triggered with each showing request for each listing agent is a whole different
oh
story.
yeah.
Bree had a little taste of it, so you guys stay tuned. Next week we will unlock that for y'all.
So, why I think this conversation is especially important for, it doesn't matter if you're buying or listing, Rosie, is because it's highlighting the work that's done behind the scenes. And as a seller, I'm getting to hear what are the things that are important. What are buyers having to go through to see a property? And so, if you can immediately just pivot your strategy, some of our clients are listing or selling multiple properties, and if they are, this is the perfect, like, this is the conversation you want to kind of listen in on, because it's behind the scenes, right?
What? Rosie, I can't hear you.
He's saying that this is the conversation you want to listen in. I was like, I'm listening. Okay, so listen, so this is good stuff. So now that we know this, Roger, someone like you, right, like who is primarily with us in market information and
Hmm.
direction and the vision, and and you see us negotiate and deal make in the moment. What
Hmm.
are triggering in your mind? What are the observations you're having right now?
That's a great question. I'm thinking of it from multiple uh, aspects. First off is just the client experience. So when someone agrees to work with us, what is the experience? What are we curating for them? And I like hearing these things where we're removing problems before they arise,
Yeah.
right? Or we're helping them to grasp or see more or experience more in their home buying experience. Because what can easily happen is you have someone who doesn't know all of this, and the home they really want, someone else like Bree moves in, and it's off the market, it's off the table now. And so that's why I think it's really important, from the buyer curated experience perspective. They're getting an opportunity. They're getting their foot in the door. They're getting all of these possibilities. Like, possibilities are endless from a person who thinks outside the box, like Brittany. So a lot of people are so stuck in thinking inside the box that that there's no possibility. No possibility can happen from that place. And so that's what's really exciting, is just that. And then also, I think the education that we're putting out there, and from our daily experiences and what that world looks like, is very captivating from a seller's perspective, because even though it's not a seller directed conversation, we're having a buyer directed conversation. It's really signaling to them that, hey, look, these are the things you want to watch out for. This is the experience that typically is created in the marketplace. Someone needing their groceries from HEB, like, that's a sticky point. Let's not do that, and leave money on the table. So for groceries, and then just having that team that's willing to say, hey, are you sure? like take it a step or two further, just really high curiosity. And I mean, we're going to be touching on the book next week, Rick Rubin's book, but this is exactly what Rick was talking about in his
Can you
book.
correct him, Bree?
We're not. We're not
Or
going to do
sorry,
that.
next month. We're going to be talking about it soon. So, but this is what he was talking about, and we're going to present that, like how to create those possibilities. And it almost feels like out of thin air, but it's working with the
This is
body.
a perfect moment to interject a very important point.
Yes.
I think Bree is helping people stay married. Can you imagine someone like me and Roger going out for a house hunting day?
I just opened the fucking cabinet.
That just didn't. That actually just did happen. La, la,
That's
la,
the
la, la,
universe.
la, 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 la.
Whatever. You gotta share your playlist with me.
So listen, so Roger and I are buyers, and we're driving around, and we have 9 homes to look at. And Roger thinks that he doesn't need a route. He just intuitively knows. Just pick one house. We go from one house to another. And I'm like, hey, we can go in circles, and and someone like Bree is making sure all those things happen for us, so we can talk about the house rather than disagreeing about which route to take, because we clearly have selective hearing for each other. We're
Guys,
not
no,
talking
the
about
amount of
ridiculous.
arguing that we see during showings is actually quite
Okay,
hilarious.
without client
Hey,
disclose,
that's pretty cool.
give us
Wow.
the top 2 ones.
Really?
Top two, I have to go back in my memory for top two, but like a funny one that just happened the other day is my clients were looking at homes and they were talking about something like, oh, the husband was like, we can fix like this and this and this, and she was like, no, we can't, because you have been saying that you're going to fix the porch for over a year and it hasn't been done. So what makes you think this is? And then the guy said, Bree, don't you think I'm going to get it done? I said, I don't know anything. I said, nope, I'm not in this fight. And then the wife was like, don't bring her into it. You need to get your shit done. I'm just like, so,
But I bet you laughed.
oh, always.
I always joke about it. I said, that's a release right there. I joke about it all the time,
So the real life happens during real estate.
Oh, the real life. You know what? The good news is most of our clients are in happy marriages. There have been a few where I'm not sure if it's a very happy marriage.
Hold on. I have a bone to pick with both of you here. Who said having an argument or a disagreement means you don't have
No. No. Y'all fighting is funny. You are not fighting with like evil anger in you, calling people out
It's
their
a
name.
banter. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
banter.
y'all are fun banter. That kind of fighting is so fun. It's funny, hilarious, laugh, hee hee ha ha. It can get kind of ugly sometimes. Where
And
I'm
did you
like,
see Roger what Roger did? Yeah, you don't know behind the scenes, Bree, what I go through. Can I tell you something really funny? Okay. First of all, do you feel like you got to kind of tell one segment of the showing part of the home? Anything you want to add before I tell you this funny story?
Well, hold on real quick. Before you tell that story, I just want to say one thing. And that is that, Bree, you do have this innate ability to be the glue, even during like high stress situations. And we've been working together for over 10 years now. And I can't tell you, her emotional bandwidth and emotional intelligence is out the roof. And that's another, I think, added benefit.
Hey, that on that compliment that you have emotional bandwidth to stick through a conflict.
I'm being
How
honest.
did you develop that skill?
calling Rosie.
No, by hanging around us and ignoring the shit. So that's funny. Listen, I want to tell you a story. So this morning, we met a friend and we met at a coffee shop. Apparently, we make a lot of friends at the coffee shop. And so he was telling an experience and I was telling an experience. And I have enough humility to kind of admit at some points. I was like, guys, it seems like I'm the asshole in the relationship sometimes. She said, well, the fact that you're aware of it doesn't make you one.
Yeah.
sweetest thing somebody has said.
So now
So
you
if
say,
you're
"Oh, then Roger's
aware,
the asshole."
if
I'm
you're,
really aware.
if you're aware you're an asshole, you're not an asshole.
I don't know how true that is.
Well, let's
It's
try.
wishful thinking, yeah.
How many times both of you have agreed to it?
To what? Oh, that you're an asshole?
No, that you guys are assholes on your own. But don't tell me y'all are all saints and nothing ever happens to you all. Like, oh, we're perfect. We're
I
just
like
nice
to
people
use
all
I
the
would
time.
use I like to use better language describing me.
No,
Well,
I know I'm an asshole.
Yeah? Oh man, I haven't seen it. So
I'm the nicest but meanest person you'll ever know.
God bless you. You get all the showings done right. You need that personality. So, anyways, on that note, Roger, back to you. I think I explored my brain with buying side today.
I actually wanted to say one more thing.
Please.
With this one instance where the people had their, grocery delivery or whatever, um, it did have me curious to think they've been on the market for 75 days.
oh,
And I'm wondering how many times did they decline or try to move a showing and maybe it didn't work out and maybe that's why they sat on the market, because the house from the photos, haven't been in it yet, but the house looks really good. The price is very well priced for the square footage in the area. I'm very curious.
Well,
I will
maybe.
report back and let you know how it is when I get there, but
Well,
oh
let's
my
talk about it next week. I really want to know because what if other agents are not as persistent and assertive in making sure that they get their way in?
I feel like every time you use the word assertive, you need to disclose, like, not that assertive.
I think being assertive is a
I
good
think
thing.
assertive has a bad connotation, but
Yeah, but you know what? Half the words in the vocabulary. Look at this. Sometimes I say things. You don't say that. It has double
No,
meaning.
doesn't matter.
Everything has a double meaning. Everything has whatever. I don't care. Assertive is important. It means you have more conviction in what you're doing than their doubts. That's it. That's to me assertive is.
damn.
Yep. Assertive is a good quality. It means your belief is larger than their doubt. That's assertive. Let's go.
Agree.
Fight me.
Happy wife,
Fight me.
life. Happy wife, happy life.
Happy life, life, life. That doesn't
No.
work anymore.
Hey,
It's an
what's
old
that?
ridiculous
I
story
like
now.
that. This is what I think. Fight me.
Okay, Roger, do you want to add something?
Do I want to add something? Are you hinting at something?
Yeah,
Yes,
like
What?
you want to take the conversation somewhere else, so you think we're good here?
No. I think this is it. I think this is a beautiful conversation, and it's about creating possibilities. So I really like it.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed what Bree had brought to the table today. I would love to hear next week what the house looked like, where the HEB.
I mean, this is the tip of the iceberg. There's like so much more, I feel like, that happens that's aside from seeing beautiful homes. I mean, everybody loves to see beautiful homes. That's where we start. That's where the whole process seems to begin for everyone.
Yeah.
And so I feel like
It's a really good tip of the iceberg. And I think for the time we had, today we spent 33 minutes and 33 seconds.
Well, she was just waiting for that. That's what she was.
okay, that's
A
why.
high value conversation today and gave you the real behind the scenes while she was doing showings. This is real people doing real deals in real estate. So if you guys are wanting to know, look, guys, this is who we are. If you like us, this is what you're gonna get. If you don't like us, disqualify us now.
Hey, listen. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. And so, guys, Coffee Social Fridays, and
Fridays at the link, Easy Tiger.
yeah.
9:30 to 11. We have great conversations around what buyers and sellers mindset is, what it takes for us to do our work right, and
We're having conversations that no one's going to hear anywhere else.
Yeah.
These are really wonderful conversations that actually can impact the quality of life, not only at work, at play, with family, in all aspects. So a lot of people think singular focus, and they think just honing in on the conversation around this one point will make your life better. But what I'm realizing in my years of doing this with Rosie and Brittany is that, being more open allows a lot more to come in. And so we start to improve not just one area of our lives, but all of it at the same time. And that includes wealth building through real estate and even, I have friends that have job promotions and different things, and they have easier time working with people because of the conversations that we're having. So I think those are all important things, like, discovering new ideas about yourself and all these sorts of things. So it's not just real estate. If you have some time, come out and see us. It's from 9:30 to 11. I'm sure you'll enjoy yourself.
All right, beautiful. Bree,
Yeah.
thank you so much for streaming live from your car on the highway. And she is a dedicated driver, so she doesn't have to take her hands off the wheel and eyes off the road to be
Yeah.
with us. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Loved having you. And Roger, what?
So one last thing. Hey guys, you just saw, a beautiful display of how much pleasure we take in our work. And so perhaps you're not in the market to buy a home. Maybe you are. And if you know somebody, we'd love to help them out. So send them our way. We promise to take good care of them.
Ooh, that's the best call to action by Roger. You should do
Yeah.
all the call to actions. Love you all.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you. Have fun. Take care, guys. Bye
All right.
bye.
Bye. Take care.